Do you remember anything from genetics? About me, are you there? Yes, about me, I'm listening to you. Your voice, I think your voice is breaking. Are you having network difficulty or something? What? What did you say?
Genetics uh, are gene transmission that are inherited
Okay.
by parents.
Okay, about me, can you come over? Can you go over it again? Your
Maybe
voice
they
is breaking, so
feel
I didn't get you clearly.
that
About me, are you there?
inherited characteristics usually inherited by parents.
Okay. The parents pass along the genetic characteristics. Yes, you're correct. Okay, all right. Let me start record. Okay, the class has it's been recorded already. So let's go to what we have for today. This is week 2, and in week 2 we'll be having class on a Thursday like this, and then on Saturday in 2 days' time. So today our topic is variation in population, and when we are talking about variation, we're talking about variation and population. So let me take you over through the definition of variation and the definition of population. When we talk about population, what does it mean? Population is defined as a group of organisms of the same species living in a specified area within a given period of time. It means at a given period of time, the population of a specific area can be high and it can be low depending on the conditions. For example, if they ask you what is the population of um, of human beings in Nigeria, the census unit will be able to answer that question. If they ask us what is the population of animals, of dogs that we have in Nigeria, we can conduct a census. People who have dogs in their house, people who use them as security, etc. That is population. It is simply defined as a group of organisms of the same species living together. For example, and you enter the forest, you see some areas. What you have in those areas are monkeys, squirrels. You get what I'm saying? When you go to some parts, maybe deeper into the jungle, into the forest, you can find more organisms like snakes, like wild animals like lion, cheetahs, hyenas. For example, a monkey that is living in the territory of a lion, there's going to be problem. Why? Because that lion is a predator. Yes, is a predator, and that monkey is a prey. And the lion will keep chasing after the monkey on the tree to say, I'm hungry, I want to eat, and to start going after the monkey. Let's talk about domestic animals now. Imagine as we are living in Nigeria, you are in your house, or maybe there is one jungle close to your house, a forest, let's say a forest close to your house. You are rearing chicken. Okay. No one else is in the meeting. Okay. Uh, you're rearing chicken, and in the process of rearing the chicken, since there is a bush, a forest nearby your house, you can find snakes coming to visit your compound frequently. I have lived in that kind of compound before, where my landlord was rearing chicken, and they don't know who comes to takes the egg, break some of them, feast on the chicks. the eggs that hatch that has become chicks. At the end of the day, my landlord just told me that while going out one day, he realized that a snake comes to the compound to come and feast on the eggs and feast on the chicks too. Eventually, they got a snake repellent plant, and that was how everything went. Obaumi, you're welcome back. Hello, Obaumi, are you with me? Obaumi, are you there? Obaumi, if you are there, you can send an emoji. All right, so I'm going to share my screen now. Okay, give me a moment. I'm sharing my screen. Okay. Around me, are you there? Okay, so I'm sharing my screen. About me, if you can see my screen, please give me an emoji if you can see my screen. Just drop an emoji if you can see my screen. About me, can you hear me? Please drop an emoji if you can see my screen. Okay.
I can see
Okay.
your screen.
Okay, thank you. So I'm going to go on with my explanation. So we have variation. And I've talked about the definition of population. Now I'm going to talk about variation. When you hear the word variation, from the word varies. When it says something varies, it means they are different. It's not the same for everything. So variation refers to the differences that exist between individuals of the same species. For example, among we human beings, some people are tall, some people are short, some are fair in complexion, some are dark in complexion, and some will call themselves chocolate. So variation is defined as the differences among individuals of the same species and even offspring of the same parents. A man and a woman can come together, have a child, the first child, have a second child, and those two children don't even look the same way. One can take the mother's complexion, another can take the father's complexion. One can take the color of the eyes of the mother, another child will take the color of the eyes of the father, but they are both born to the same father and the same parent, the same mother. To make it much more interesting, one of the children might even be an albino, and the skin is so fair, but they are offspring that are born to the same father and the same mother. Now, what are the causes of variation? Differences arise due to genetic makeup. The gene, one. Two, environmental influence. Influence of the environment can affect, and it can be a combination of both genetics and environmental influence. However, no two individuals are exactly alike except for identical twins. Even in identical twins, for example, their fingerprints are different. Identical twins, they look exactly the same way. You cannot recognize them unless you know them one on one. That is when you go say, okay, this one is the first one, this one is the other twin. If not, you might not be able to tell. However, we have features that are not the same in them. For example, their fingerprints. Yes, they are identical twins, but their fingerprint is not the same. So when we are talking about variation, we have two types of variation. We have morphological variation, also called continuous variation. And we have the second type, physiological variation, also called discontinuous variation. Let's start with discontinuous variation. Another name for discontinuous variation, like I mentioned, is physiological variation. Obawumi, are you following? Give me an emoji if you are following. Obawumi, you can give me an emoji if you are following. I just want to be sure you're here and you're following up with the classes. Okay. I'll go on regardless. So when we're talking about discontinuous variation, I mentioned earlier that discontinuous variation is also called physiological variation. And it is defined as the differences in the ways individuals of the same species behave or react to conditions in their environment. And physiological variation, which is also called discontinuous variation, it relates to the functioning of the body. And it shows clear-cut differences with no intermediate forms. Now, discontinuous variation, also called physiological variation, is often controlled by a gene, by a single gene or a few genes, with little or no effect from the environment, which means physiological variation, also called discontinuous variation, is influenced majorly by genetics, by gene. Example, we have the blood group. The blood group that we have 4 types of blood group. We have A, we have B, we have AB, and we have O. It means blood group O, blood group AB, blood group B, and blood group A. Those are the 4 blood groups that we have in human beings. Another example of physiological or also called discontinuous variation, we have ability to close one eye and keep the other eye open, what we call winking. Okay, you're welcome. Kindly mute your mics. You're welcome. Kindly mute your mic as you're joining. Please mute your mic.
Biology.
As I was saying, we have ability to close one eye and keep the other eye open, which we normally call wink, ability to wink. When you want to wink, for example, if you want to wink, most people are used to closing their left eye and their right eye will be open. For someone like myself, when I want to wink, it's my left eye that is closed and my right eye is open. Now imagine if I want to wink using my right eye, I'm going to close my right eye and leave my left eye open. It's going to be quite difficult. You can try that, for example. We have fingerprints. Like I mentioned earlier about the identical twins. Even identical twins cannot have the same fingerprint. The fingerprint is different and is unique, even for identical twins. We have ability to roll the tongue. Some people can roll their tongue while some can't. For example, I cannot roll my tongue. I don't know how to do it. Also, we have albinism. We have sickle cell trait or anemia trait. All of these things are things that can be transferred through genetics, from mother to child, from father to child, etc. We also have behavior. we also have behavior. Now, if you take a look at a child born to a parent or parent, that child is going to pick up some traits, some behavior that might be typical. They can say, oh, this child is behaving more like the mother, or this child is behaving more like the father. So also behavioral patterns, which can be inherited, are also and they can also be controlled even by hormones. For example, an individual can be aggressive or non-aggressive. They can be calm. They can be introverted. They can be caring or uncaring, depending on what trait or characteristics they've watched their parents portrayed. Then next we have examples of physiological variation in plants. In plants, physiological variation, example, we have the color of leaves. The color of the leaves of a plant can vary. For example, on a mango tree, you can see a leaf on the mango tree, very green, deep green. And you see another leaf on that same mango tree. The leaf will look like light green. It looks light green. Another example, we have color of flowers, color of fruits, color of seeds, and even the shape of the seed and the fruit. If you speak with farmers very well, especially farmers that plant fruits, they will tell you that they have seen different types of seeds and fruit. Let me give you an example. The other day, I bought carrots in the market. And when I got home, I didn't check it when the seller was packing it. I also said, oh, I wanted to buy so amount of carrots, and I was doing something else. And when I got home, those carrots were various. There was one that looked like a V, letter V. I was like, what kind of carrot looks like letter V again? And if you want to trace it down, that carrot might be the same carrot that they planted from the same seeds. The same way they planted it, watered everything the same way, but that carrot decided to come out as letter V. And all the carrots that we always do, they are always straight up and the usual shape of carrot that we know. But this carrot came out as letter V. That is an example of variation in a plant. Now let's talk about the second type of variation, which is called continuous variation or morphological variation. It is defined as the noticeable physical appearance. The key word here is physical, which means you can see it. It's something you can see and appreciate. For example, somebody is dark in complexion, you know that this person is dark in complexion. Compared to discontinuous variation, also called physiological variation, someone that has blood group O, if you see the person and you say, okay, this person is group O, blood group O, this one will be blood group B. That's not possible. You cannot see the person's blood group unless you collect the person's blood sample and take it to the lab and run it through the proper procedure. Unlike someone that is dark in complexion, when you see the person, you know that this one is dark. When you see another person, oh, this one is fair. When you see another person, oh, this one is an albino. Do you get what I'm saying? That's the difference between continuous variation and discontinuous. And I mentioned earlier that continuous variation is also called morphological variation, and discontinuous variation is also called physiological variation. Now, when we say morphological, something that we can assess with our two eyes, with our physical senses. So I said the morphological variation or continuous variation is defined as noticeable physical appearance of individuals of the same species. Even in animals, it occurs. For example, we have white lion. How many of you have heard about white lion before? If you've heard about a white lion, please signify using an emoji. A white lion, an albino lion. How many of you have heard about an albino lion before? Oh, that's interesting. You don't watch National Geographic Wild? How many of you know the station National Geographic Wild on GoTV and DSTV? Nat Geo Wild. Anyone? If you know about that channel on the DSTV or GoTV, Please leave an emoji. Let me see. Wow, this is interesting. What are you people watching? This is interesting. Oh, okay, good. One person knows about National Geographic. Wow, okay. Two people know about National Geographic. Wow, that is great. Now, it was while I was watching National Geographic Wow that I realized that we actually have a white lion, an albino lion. You know, instead of the usual color of lion, this one is white. That is how this lion looks like. And this lion is about to go into extinction. Their breeds are no longer many. So it's an endangered, that species of lion is an endangered species. We call that white lion an endangered species. Why are we calling it an endangered species? Because there are not too many of them available in the world. And once they die off, they will eventually go into extinction. It means the generation coming after us, and after us, they might just hear that, oh, there was once a class of lion that are called albino lions. They are white lions, but they will never be able to see them to appreciate them. So please endeavor to, if you want to enjoy biology very well, endeavor to watch National Geographic World. You will learn a lot of things about animals and even plants. You will learn a lot of things from it, from animals, ranging to plants, handling of animals. You will learn a lot from it. Okay, so as I was explaining, what are the characteristics of continuous variation? We have a range of phenotypes with many intermediate forms between two extremes, which are usually controlled by polygenic genes, and they are strongly influenced by environmental factors. Example, we have diet, exercise, climate. For example, someone might be skinny and someone else might be chubby, might be fat. If you take a look at it, the difference in that is because that person who is who is thin, who is slim, who is thin, maybe the person is watching their weight. They're cutting down on carbs, they are not eating very well, and they're probably suffering from malnutrition. Or maybe they are exercising, so they are exercising and cutting down on calories, so they are losing weight. And that other person, you say, oh, this person is fat, oh, this person is chubby. That person might be having issues with feeding. The person might be eating a lot of food, eating a lot of junk. That is why that person is chubby. And you see some people, they are fit, their muscle is toned, everything is well toned. And that's as a result of exercise. So for example, your stature, either you are slim, or you are fat, or you are fit. These are factors that can decide your weight, your stature, based on either you are dieting, you are exercising. Now, what are examples of morphological, also called continuous variation in humans? Examples in humans, we have height, we have weight. I mentioned earlier that somebody who is skinny, for example, who is thin, will weigh less than somebody who is fat, who is chubby, or who is obese, that is suffering from obesity. Also, we have skin color. You can be dark in complexion, you can be fair, you can be an albino, you can be white, like the white people, and you can be brown, like Indians. You can be brown, like Indians. We have intelligence. Now, intelligence is another thing. When we're talking about intelligence, I always tell people that, look, there is no dull person in the world. And when I tell people that there's no dull person in the world, they make it seem like, oh, what is she talking about? Now, when I say there is no dull person in the world, what am I saying? What I'm saying is this. When you go to school, you're learning, either through formal education or informal education. Either you are being homeschooled or you are going to a proper school. You're learning one way or the other. Now, you go to school, you're being taught, and after teaching you, you just take your books, you close them. You no longer open them again. You go and play. Exams are coming, test is knocking. You do not pick up your book to read or do anything. What's going to happen to your brain? Have you heard about garbage in, garbage out? It's what you give your head that it will bring out. But you did not give your brain anything to feast on, to ruminate on, and you're expecting something to happen. Obviously, nothing will happen. As a teacher, teaching for the past 8 years, I have seen students who were average students. They were average. And we had conversations with them, gave them pep talk, gingered them, did everything we could, and they picked up. What was the advice we were giving them? It's not far-fetched. Read your books. After your teacher teaches you, go back to it again. Reread it. Go through it. Meet somebody to ask you questions. Please ask me question on this. I just finished reading this topic. Ask me question on this topic. And you see how much you can remember from it. And if there's nobody you can ask, you can get a separate book. After you finish reading a topic, get that book and a pen, write down what you can remember from it. After writing down what you can remember from it, compare it with your note and say, okay, out of 100% of information, I was able to reproduce 60%. Oh, let me work more. Let me work more on how much I can take into my head again. But then you didn't pick up your books to read after teaching. You closed your book. Exam is coming, test is coming. Exam came and went. You didn't read your book and you failed. You would definitely fail. It is what you take into your brain that your brain hacks on. If you don't put anything in your brain is not going to hack on anything. So that is why I believe that there is no dull person in the world. The reason why people classify themselves as dull is because they are not ready to work and go the extra mile. You have to go the extra mile. But I do believe that there are slow learners and there are fast learners. I believe in that. But I do not believe that they are dull students. I do not believe that they are dull learners. I just believe they are fast and they are slow. Some people are fast. Once you tell them something once, they grab it. And there are some people you have to repeat, go over and over and over again before they get it. But they will eventually get it. So either you are a fast learner or you're a slow learner. As long as you are learning, you're giving your brain something to feast on. You will definitely be able to reproduce it at the end of the day. But when you give yourself nothing, there is nothing you can reproduce. That is why we can classify intelligence as part of morphological variation, continuous variation. Also, we have eye color, the color of eyes. For example, in Nigeria, the color of eyes that's common is brown and black. When you go outside of Nigeria, you can see people with blue eyes, green eyes, various colors. We have shape of various body parts. Shape of various body parts, like the shape of the person's head, the shape of the person's nose, the mouth, the jaw, the eyes, the ears, the leg, the hands, and even the toes. The shape of the person's toes. Maybe the person has long toes, or the person has short and stout toes. The person has long fingers, or the person has short and stout fingers. You can see those ones with your eyes. Now, we also have the examples of morphological variation in plants. I mentioned for physiological implants. For morphological variations in plants that we can see. These are I said morphological variation, they are things that we can see. They are noticeable physical appearance, so which means we can see them with our two eyes. We have the height of plants. For example, when you see a plant now, maybe you're on a piece of land, you decided that, okay, I want to plant cassava, or you want to plant maize. You plant everything on that piece of land, and as they are growing, after they finish growing, after they are grown, and you want to harvest them, you now take a look at it. You see that some of the maize, some of them grew tall, some grew average height, and some are stunted. You can see that. Shape of various parts of the plant. Some are the shape of the stem, the shape of the roots, the shape of the leaves, the flowers, and fruits. Also, we have size of various parts of the plant, like the stem, the root, the leaves, the fruit, and flowers. Let me give you an example. In the school where I used to teach, that was last year, there are mango trees there. Don't let me say there's a mango tree. There are mango trees there. And one day I sat down under one of the sheds, and I was just like going through my phone. And after I got tired of going through my phone, I dropped my phone and decided to enjoy the atmosphere, because at that place where I was sitting, there are mango trees and there are cashew trees there. I just realized that this mango tree, this one is fat. This one is fat. Look at this one afar. See how this one is thin. I mean, the mango trees that I noticed there, they were tall and fat, big. And I just noticed that one that day for the first time, that this mango tree is not as fat. The stem is not as fat as the others. It is just thin. And hello, it had mangoes on it. It had mangoes. Mangoes is growing on it. There were mangoes on that tree. Now that's an example of a physiological variation. I could physically see with my 2 eyes that this mango tree is thinner and these mango trees are fatter. Okay, so I'm going to take a pause here while I mark attendance. I'm going to take a pause here while I mark attendance. So Melody, you're welcome. This person, okay. All right, I'm going to mark the attendance. At least this is 7:50. We started the class at 7:15. So, please unmute your mics and tell me your names. Okay, I can see Melody. Unmute your mics and tell me your names, please, so I can mark your name on the attendance. I can see Melody, so let me look for Melody. Please, the others, unmute your mic.
My name.
Okay, Melody, I can't find your name on the attendance. Oh, about me, I've marked you. You were the first person. You were the first person that joined the class. So I've marked you present. Melody, I can't find your name on the attendance list. Do you have another name, or were you registered with another name? Melody, kindly unmute your mic and tell me your full name. Okay, is Melody there? Okay, the other two, Ezeleke. I'm sorry if I pronounce your name wrongly. Please unmute your mic. And Omorabon, Esewi, please unmute your mic. The both of you, please unmute your mic.
Omorabon, Esewi, my name is not on the attendance.
Your name is not on the attendance?
Yes.
Esewi, okay, let me double check. Okay, the Esewi I have here is Osakolo Esewi. Oh, as I see, I don't know if I'm pronouncing it wrong. Okay, so you know what?
That one is not my name. That one is Osakolo Asiri.
Oh, okay. So please reach out to the admin and tell them that your name is not on the attendance, okay?
Okay, ma'am.
All right.
This is
Obawumi, are you trying to say something? Obawumi, are you trying to say something? If you're not trying to say anything to us, you can mute your mic, please, Obawumi. Okay, so the next person, Ezeleka. Okay, I don't know. I'm sorry. Please unmute your mic and tell me your name so I can check for it on the attendance. I've marked the attendance already earlier, so I'm just trying to give you a second chance here. Yes, your name is what?
Principal's number. The principal's number.
What?
It's not on the attendance. The principal's son.
Oh, okay. Okay. All right, so since your name is not your attendance, let's move on. So let's talk about the importance of variation. What are the importance of variation? The advantages of variation? Survival. Number one is survival. Survival allows species to adapt to changing environments through something that we call natural selection. I don't know if you've heard about natural selection before, But if you've not heard about natural selection, we're going to be talking about it in our next class on Saturday. We have evolution, which acts as raw materials for evolving species in evolution. Another importance of variation, it is useful in agriculture. It helps plant and animal breeders to select desirable traits. Example, you can select plant and animals that are disease resistant, that gives higher yield, and when you do that, you'll be able to maximize profit. Variation is also important in medicine. For example, it is vital for blood transfusion, compatibility, and forensic study. When we talk about blood transfusion, what are we talking about? I mentioned earlier, under physiological variation is also known as discontinuous variation. I did mention that we have 4 blood grouping, A, B, AB, and O. Now, these 4 blood grouping, for example, blood group O, we call them general donors. They can give to all blood groups, but they can only receive from O. The AB, A, and B, they also have recipients and they have donors. For example, someone that is blood group O, that will say can donate blood to all other groups, but can only get from O donors. Now, in a situation where there is a mistake, and instead of giving an individual that is O blood, they give them A blood or AB blood, there's going to be problem. So that is why before blood transfusion, they do something called cross-matching and compatibility testing to check if there's going to be something called agglutination, where the blood will clump together. If the blood clumps together, if there is agglutination, it means they are not compatible. Then when we talk about forensic identification, what are we talking about? It's important. I did mention fingerprints earlier, that even twins, identical twins, they don't have the same fingerprint. So which means if one of the twins commits a crime, they cannot arrest the second twin for that crime because their fingerprints are different. From fingerprints can help to solve forensic cases. For example, if they find a dead body, a corpse, along a road in a same country, they can check for samples of DNA. It could be strands of hair, sputum, blood samples, bodily fluids, anything. As long as it's something that carries details of your gene, they can identify those samples, run it through their database, and they can have idea of who committed a crime. They can have an idea of and come up with a list of suspects. But it's a pity in Nigeria we don't have such system put in place. So this is a graph that shows the variation. This is a graph that shows it. So I did mention that an importance is it is useful in forensic, which is useful in crime detection. It can also be used in determination of paternity or maternity. In maternity, they can determine either a woman is the mother of a child or not. In paternity, they can determine whether a man is the father of a child or not. So just like we have paternity test, we also have maternity test. I've heard of cases, I've had stories where they said they exchanged some babies in the hospital. So in that kind of situation, if they want to know exactly who the real mother is, they can conduct a maternity test, because obviously if they conduct a paternity test, it will come out as failed. But for a maternity test, they can test to see whether a woman is the mother of the baby. So that is all we have for today. That is all we have for today. Thank you for listening. Oh. All right, does anybody have any question? You can unmute your mic and ask questions. Unmute your mics and ask questions.
Can you tell me the types of variation? How many types of variation
What did
we
you
have?
say? We have 2 types of variation. Makiva, please mute your mic. Grace, please mute your mic. Mute your mic. Thank you. Okay, I said we have 2 types of variation. We have physiological variation and we have morphological variation. Morphological variation is also called continuous variation, and physiological variation is also called discontinuous variation. Any other question? Any other question?
Ma, please, can you come again? Morphological variation and please, what is the first one?
I said there are 2 types of variation. Morphological variation, also called continuous variation, and the second type is physiological variation, also called discontinuous variation. Let me share my screen again. Okay, can you see my screen? Can you see my screen? If you can see my screen, drop an emoji. Okay, thank you, Sewi. Okay, thank you, Abawumi. So I said we have discontinuous variation, also called physiological variation, and we have continuous variation, also called morphological variation. Okay, do we have any more questions? You can unmute your mics. You can unmute your mic. This is the point where I ask if you ask questions, and I will also ask questions. So you can unmute your mics. Unmute your mic. If you didn't hear your name on the attendance, if you joined late, please let me know if you joined late, so I can take a look at the attendance and mark. Please, those of you that your name is not on the attendance, kindly reach out to the admin. Do reach out to the admin to inform them that your name is not on the attendance, okay? So they can get it rectified and sorted out probably before the next class. And that reminds me, please unmute your mics. Unmute your mics, everyone. Let's interact. Unmute your mics. Let's interact. Unmute your mics. Let's interact. Melody, unmute your mic. Ezeleki, unmute your mic. All right. So if you're aware that I gave you an assignment that's due to, that I gave you 2 assignments from last week. The first one was due on the 7th of April, and the second one is due today, 9th of April. If you are not aware of the assignment, please drop an emoji or speak up now. If you are not aware, okay? Amaragba, it says that you are not aware. It says you're not aware that there is a there's an assignment.
Yes, ma.
Okay. Were you in the last class? Were you in the class during the first week last week?
No.
Oh, okay. Yours is quite understandable. You were not in the class. Okay. So I want to believe the so about me and Co. What happened? Why didn't you get the assignment done? Because one was due on the 7th of April, and I did not allow late submission. And another is due today, and which I believe is overdue based on the time. And so what happened? One person answered the question. One person did attempted the assignment on reproduction. However, the person only picked one answer out of 10 questions. The person didn't pick an answer for the remaining 9. The person only picked an answer for just one question. And I was wondering why that happened. So what exactly is going on? You don't like assignments? Unmute your mics and let's discuss. So what did you say about me? What did you say? About me, what did you say?
It was late.
It was late.
It was late. But it was late to submit.
Okay. I believe you guys have a dashboard, right? You have your own dashboard, right? All right. Let me get straight to the point. It will be good for you if you attempt the assignment. At least that will help to assess your knowledge on what you've learned in the last class.
Yes.
For example, this class, today we've talked about variation. On Saturday, we'll be talking about evolution. Now, there's already an assignment set up for variation and evolution, which you will have access to, and the assignment is due next week. It will help me to access your knowledge on what you've done, what you've learned so far. However, when you're not attempting assignments, there is no way for me to see. You know, today, for example, today, as I finish explaining, if I ask you questions, you might not be able to answer. Oh, why? You just learned it today. So you might need time to reread, go through it, digest it, which is quite understandable. And when you're done reading and digesting, and you attempt the assignment, even you will be able to assess yourself. They are objective questions. They are not structural questions where you have to fill in the gap and you have to start guessing that, oh, what's the answer? They are objective questions, multiple choice questions, where you have various options that you can pick from. Which means even you can assess yourself, you can assess how much knowledge you have based on how you were able to answer the question. But when you don't attempt it, how will you know how much you've understood? So I'm appealing to us. Let's endeavor to attempt assignment questions and even quiz questions. Okay? Are we clear on that? If we are clear on that, drop an emoji.
There's no quiz. Very quiz.
There's a quiz. There's a quiz. I can't hear you. Your voice is breaking.
There's no quiz.
I'm surprised you're saying there's no quiz.
Zero.
There is no, okay, on your own dashboard, it says 0 quiz, right?
That is network. Network is bad.
Okay, you can type a message in the chat box. Please type a message in the chat box, because it seems like what you're trying to say is that there is no quiz on your own dashboard. And I have set up a quiz, which is actually showing on my dashboard. Please, if you are in a place where you cannot unmute yourself and speak, please use the chat box. Use the chat box, please. Use the chat box. I'm waiting. You know, I told you that at this time, let's interact because I need to know why you did not attempt 2 assignments. Okay, there's 0 quiz. Okay. I will reach out to the admin on that. Obaomi, did you hear me? Who else on their dashboard is telling them 0 quiz? If on your dashboard is telling you 0 quiz, drop an emoji. Okay, Lucas is telling you 0 quiz. Who else is unable to, is their dashboard telling them 0 quiz? So I can reach out to the admin and inform the admin. So we have 2 people, Obaomi and Lucas, who have said that on their dashboard, it says 0 quiz. Does that mean the rest of you can access the quiz on your dashboard? Does this mean only 2 people cannot access the quiz on their dashboard, but the rest of you can access the quiz? Is that what it means? Please respond with an emoji if you cannot access your quiz from your dashboard. Okay, good. If you cannot access your assignment on your dashboard, please drop an emoji. Okay, Obaomi, you cannot access your assignment on your dashboard also? Wow, okay, that's okay, okay. Who else cannot access their assignment on their dashboard? If you cannot access your assignment from your dashboard, okay, Lucas, you also cannot access your assignment from your dashboard, okay?
Yes, the assignment is there, but once you click on it, you can't solve it. It's just something that you can only read, but you can't solve it.
Okay, okay, okay. Obaomi, is that the same issue you have too? Or is not showing at all on your dashboard?
Yes, yes.
Okay, so I believe the rest of you, I believe you can access your assignment and your quiz from your dashboard. Melody and Co, can you access your quiz and your assignment from your dashboard? Okay, Melody and Co are not speaking. I'm only getting feedback from Obaomi and Lucas. What did you say, Obaomi? What did you say?
I have not downloaded my dashboard. I don't know how to do it. I'm still working on it.
Oh, okay, okay, okay.
Yeah.
All right. All right, thank you for that feedback. Please endeavor to work on your dashboard as soon as possible so that you can have access to the assignment and access to the quiz. Okay, so in the absence of questions, I'm going to ask questions now. How many times shall we? Can I ask my questions now? You can unmute your mic still. I'm going to be asking questions and I'll be expecting answers. So I expect that you can you unmute your mic. Unless you are in a place where you cannot speak freely, then you can make use of the chat box to answer the questions, okay? So I'm going to go to the first question. How many types of variation do we have?
2 types. 2 types.
Okay, so we have 2 types of variation. Who can mention the 2 types of variation that we have? Or maybe one out of the variations that we have? Anyone?
Morphographical variation and physical variation.
We have morphological, and physiological variation. Also called continuous and discontinuous variation. Thank you for that. Okay, now the blood grouping, the ABO blood grouping, where we have blood group A, blood group B, blood group AB, and blood group O. Under what type of variation does it fall under? What type of variation?
Continuous variation.
Yes, discontinuous variation. Thank you for that. So who can tell us the meaning of variation itself? Can anyone tell us the meaning of variation itself? Anyone wants to try? What did you say? Abawumi, I can't hear you clearly. You can make use of the chat box to type in your answer.
Okay.
Who can tell us
Who can tell us the meaning of variation?
Did I cry?
Okay?
Okay, no one can.
But you remember I mentioned about the word varies. When something varies. How many of you remember that I mentioned that? How many of us? Remember I mentioned the word
Variation.
I said variation.
I said variation from the word.
Now the meaning of
Now the meaning of variation is just
the differences
the
that
differences that occur among.
See, why is this happening?
Why is this happening?
Why am I getting feedback?
Why am I getting feedback?
All right. Do we have any questions? So those of you that didn't have your name on the attendance, please endeavor to reach out to the admin, okay? Reach out to the admin so that your name can be added to the attendance. Are we clear on that? All right, in the absence of questions, I'm going to bring the class to a close now. So, but if, however, in the course of your reading, you have questions, you can just note them down. In our next class, we'll be doing a bit of revision on what we talked about today, so you can ask your questions there. So endeavor to read. Remember, there's no dull students. Once you can read your book, you'll be able to reproduce whatever you've been taught. So do endeavor to read your books. And I'm going to see you on Saturday by 7 p.m. I'm seeing you 7 p.m. on Saturday. So do have a good evening. Bye, everyone.